rise up and solve the great challenges of our time. We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
All right, welcome to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thanks so much for joining us here on WISL. We're live today until 1 p.m. Give us a call if you want to participate in the discussion, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. Or if you're listening online on the Free Solution Facebook page, Free Solution YouTube channel, the Kevin Wilson page, or Kevin Wilson's Twitter, I got a little number scrolling on the bottom. Call that number. And, if you have something good to say, we'll put you on air. You can also leave your comments online, too. Again, you have something good to say, we'll put it up and read it on air. And shout down the line to our friends listening over at WACK out in Newark. Appreciate y'all listening as well. All right, so happy Thanksgiving week, everyone. Appreciate y'all tuning in. As I said, wanted to talk about some other interesting developments and implications of the Kyle Rittenhouse case. Just he's on a bit of a PR tour right now, and and I don't say that pejoratively. It's just he's giving his interviews to Tucker Carlson and whoever, and talking about like what his thoughts were, and interesting thoughts on him being used as an icon both left and right, symbolic of what they aspire to or hate, right? The left wing is hanging him up as this icon of at best white privilege, at worst white supremacy, and the right is building him up to be a hero, and it seems like this kid doesn't really want to be either. He just wants to do more normal things. That's my quick opinion on this. But the thing that caused at least me to turn my head a bit, and I saw a few other people were noticing this too, is he in his interview with Tucker Carlson, he said some stuff since where he's talking about how he supports Black Lives Matter, and he said this interesting thing about his case too, as it relates to other folks, and I'll quote it. If I could get my tab to open, that is, he said, if they did this to me, imagine what they could have done to a person of color who doesn't maybe have the resources I do, or if it's not widely publicized, like my case. That's something we talked about on this show too. That sort of prosecutorial misconduct that we saw in his case, the shady things where they were stepping on his right to remain silent, where they're trying to imply guilt because he played video games, or using shoddy evidence, all this stuff that we saw in this case because it was highlighted on the national level. Kyle's right here. This stuff does get through all the time. There are a lot of cases where no one bats an eye on that stuff. And this judge, either because he had principles or because he's aware that the nation is watching the case, decided to call it out, which much to the chagrin of the progressive left, whose principles collapse as soon as their straw man enemy is on the stand. But no, he's totally right about that sort of disparity in terms of resources. If you don't have a good lawyer who can, call out that sort of misconduct, if you don't have a good team around you who's able to make sure that your rights are being defended, you'd be in trouble. And in other self-defense cases, it is much harder for people to get through. I mean, there's another one in Kenosha too, which I have not read much about. I'm not prepared to talk about it, but I know there's one where there was a young woman named Crystal Kaiser, who's a sex trafficking victim, who is accused of killing her abuser. I guess she did win her appeal, but she had spent a significant time in the court system, knowing that she had killed someone in order to escape a awful situation as a minor girl in this case. And again, because there wasn't as much attention paid to this, gets kind of lost in the system. And again, Kyle Rittenhouse is lucky in the sense that, like, because national attention was brought to this case in terms of self-defense, he was able to raise money to be able to get out on bail and didn't have to spend as long in the system. Now, he did end up spending, I think, 87 days in jail at one point. It's because Lynn Wood, who's kind of infamous uh, for some of the Trump election stuff, was his lawyer at the time, and kind of recommended it. They stay in jail for a period of time, but it's terrible. Again, what an awful experience for a young man like that. It's an awful experience for anyone to be in jail. And then Kyle Rittenhouse spoke about the terrible conditions that he faced, just being in prison or in jail rather. And now he's kind of mad at his lawyer for making him do a bunch of stupid stuff. I don't know how much of it's real or just or not, but yeah, recommending that he stay in jail for a bit. Doing an interview with the Washington Post, he's blaming like his whole Proud Boys photo on that. I don't know about all that, but it's interesting to see them throw Lynn Wood under the bus. And then I wanted to call attention to like this set of issues in particular, because as I said, this is something that does happen all the time, though, where a lot of people don't get a fair shot in these cases. And folks want to compare this to, all sorts of other cases around the country. But one that's kind of that's gotten a little bit more attention is there's a case down in Florida with a guy named Andrew Coffey the Fourth. And he was also facing murder charges. But that case is so much worse than the Kyle Rittenhouse one, just way, way more egregious. Because in this case, what had happened is that police officers raided the house. It was an incorrect raid. He tried to defend himself. He had a firearm, tried to defend himself from what he thought, what he knew were armed intruders entering his home, in his mind, threatening his life and his girlfriend's life. The police shot his girlfriend in that incident, and then they charged him with her murder, with felony murder, because they said, well, he was committing another crime, so any deaths that result from him committing a crime are on him. Though the police are the ones who shot the girlfriend, and he was just, again, defending himself in this case. Now, the good news with that case is that the same week, a jury acquitted Andrew Coffey IV of the felony murder charge. However, he is still charged with illegal possession of firearm, I think what it was. And because of that, they're throwing a book at him, right? Like they might not, they're asking for the maximum 30-year sentence because he was not allowed to own a gun. Yeah, I guess he had some other conviction in the past. So 30 years in jail. They couldn't get him on the murder charge, but they want to throw him in jail for 30 years for illegal possession of a firearm. What do you think of that? Would love to hear your thoughts on this case, on the right to self-defense, any of these other related issues. What do you think of Kyle Rittenhouse defending Black Lives Matter too? Give us a call. Again, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. Or if you're one of our friends listening online, leave your comments. We'd love to talk about them in the next segment. No, because to me, I see this case, with Andrew Coffey. I think people are rightly comparing it to Kyle Rittenhouse in terms of self-defense. And in a lot of these cases, like it's not what happens. We had the big discussion about Breonna Taylor's boyfriend a while ago. Breonna Taylor, again, one of the prominent national cases where there's a no-knock raid and police came in and killed her in part because, because there's a no-knock raid and they blamed the boyfriend for it because he got up, thought there's armed intruders in his house and decided to defend the household. Something that many of us would do too. Again, not knowing the situation, waking up in the middle of the night, not knowing why people are coming into our house, guns ablazing. What do? Well, you try to do your best to defend your family, especially if you're not clear on who is there. So in those cases, who's at fault? Who is responsible for that woman's death? Is it the police? Is it the boyfriend? Is it no one? Should anyone go to jail over this? That's the question that I think is worth pondering in cases like this, and it doesn't seem right to me that this man might be still going to jail for 30 years. Kyle Rittenhouse got his weapons charges tossed out in part because the prosecutors were a mess. This guy doesn't look like it. He might still be going to jail for several decades. we'll see, just for possessing a firearm. All right, thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. Again, appreciate y'all being here. If you have thoughts on this, give us a call. 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. We're going to be back in just a few minutes with more from A Free Solution.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A-plus Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Inside the Taylor Laboratories.
Hey, Tony, what you doing?
A little experiment, Zach. Look what I have under the microscope.
Ugh, what's that?
A sample of indoor air.
How can it be that dirty? Don't AC and furnace filters help?
Only with dust, Zach. But when Taylor installs a whole house APCO air purifier to detox the air, odors, chemicals, mold, bacteria, and viruses are removed.
For clean indoor air.
Yep. Ain't science awesome?
Taylor, 500 help.
A message from the National Police Association. It used to be that any able-bodied person would offer to assist a police officer in danger. Now, passers-by are more likely to take a video. There's a better use for your phone when an officer's in trouble. Call 911. Tell the operator where you are and what you see. Then, start your video to provide evidence later. To learn more about how you can assist law enforcement, visit nationalpolice.org. That's nationalpolice.org.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A-plus Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. Again, if anyone has any thoughts about Kyle Rittenhouse saying that he is in favor of Black Lives Matter, which is interesting, or his thoughts on criminal justice reform, or these other cases like Andrew Crawford IV. If you're following online, I posted the link to a recent article about that case, just to give you guys some more details if you want to follow up on that. I've seen a ton of memes about it. Kind of leaves out a lot of times people are like, calling attention to like, oh, see, like, look, someone else got off on a self-defense plea a self-defense argument. And well, yes, but also no. And it's just to wrap up the point about this stuff. It's interesting to see the political side of this because I haven't seen much conservative commentary on this stuff. I've seen a lot of libertarians talking about what Kyle Rittenhouse said about the criminal justice system because they're like, see, we've been doing it all along. And, people are saying stuff like, it's weird that the left is calling this guy a white supremacist when he's talking about racial disparities in the criminal justice system. What is the left talking about? And to that point, what the heck is the left talking about on this one? Like they're like, oh, he's a liar, he's faking it, blah blah blah. I'm like, what? what? Okay, like even if he were faking it, if he were doing this to completely cover his butt and look good, like to what end? Because he could go and kind of have the opinion everyone expects him to have, and he go get paid to go speak at like to go speak at conservative political conferences across the country, make a whole like life out of this thing, and him going out and saying something like that puts that opportunity in jeopardy. Like that's what it does. So he's risking his own potential political career by saying this type of stuff. So if he's saying it, my guess would be that it's because he's actually dwelling on the thoughts about, whether or not our criminal justice system is fair, which I think is a fair discussion to be having. And the left, instead of saying something like, again, let me tap into my like inner leftist brain here to say they would argue, they could argue if they're applying the principles to situations like this and not just going with naked tribalism that they seem to embrace all the time, is they could say, oh, look at him, he's recognizing his white privilege and he's understanding the disparities of his criminal justice system. He still shouldn't have gotten away with this, but it's good that he recognizes the position that he's in and the challenges with the system as they exist now. They could do that. But a lot of them aren't. A lot of them are just like, no, he's faking it. He's still a white supremacist. He's basically a Klan member. Blah blah blah. Well, come on, get a grip, folks. Like you could turn this into a good educational moment for a lot of folks, and instead, again, if this is what you want to do as a left, instead they're just using it as another opportunity. He is a pinata to beat up on. He is the straw man. He is the focus of all their hatred right now. The epitome of white nationalism in their minds, and that is absolutely ridiculous. Like they can't separate the narrative that they built around him, much of which is loaded with a bunch of nonsense, like stuff that like doesn't even make sense. They're still not able to get the facts of this case right at the national level. Absolutely wild. So that's what's kind of killed me about this stuff lately. But check out the Andrew Coffey the fourth case, and maybe we'll do a future show on this type of stuff. I struggle with this one because to me, I understand why if you commit certain crimes, why it might be a good idea to limit someone's access to a firearm. I get that. And because I'm not that extreme, but the extent to which we do it and the extent to which we punish people who do something like this, I'm not sure I can get on board with. But maybe I'm wrong on that one. Again, give us a call, 585-346-3000 if you have any thoughts on that part of it. And speaking of criminal justice reform, and we're going to go to another national issue, is that President Biden, of course, is participating in the holiday tradition of pardoning turkeys. Okay, cool. I guess that's fine. I don't really get it. But one of the things that's frustrating about President Biden, it's amazing to me. Like even the things like the small little things, I kind of hope like maybe he'll use his position to do something good. Nope. Every single time Joe Biden manages to disappoint me. People asked him, they said, hey, you promised to pardon a bunch of people who are in federal prison for marijuana-based crimes, right? The ones who haven't committed violent felonies. You said that you would pardon them. That was one of your campaign promises. And a reporter asked him this, and Biden supposedly said, oh, why, you looking for a pardon? Ha, ha, ha. Okay. Yeah, but for real, though, he did promise that he would do that. And if that's your goal, if you think that this is selling marijuana, distributing marijuana is a victimless crime, the president doesn't need Congress to, pass any laws. They don't need to do anything. They could just issue pardons and let people go. President Trump did it. President Trump was, to his credit, something, again, the left doesn't want to give him credit for this part of it, but, I'll give credit where credit's due, is he highlighted cases like this where people were in jail just for trafficking drugs, just for, selling, or they end up in federal prison. You could just issue a pardon, let them go. President Trump worked with, what was it, with Kim Kardashian West on doing that. It was great. So somehow, President Biden has managed to be less liberal than Donald Trump somehow. Politics is goofy, folks. It's hard to keep up nowadays. But this is one of those things, those immediate things that the president could do. That, again, people who are, to me, entrepreneurial. That's if that's it's not necessarily a smart thing to do to break federal law for sure. But folks who culturally were kind of turning the tide on at least the marijuana part. I don't think people should be going to jail. Again, nothing to do with whether or not you should or should not consume that particular drug, but should people be thrown into a cage because of it? No, no, I don't think so. And I am glad to see our country moving away from that, because it's a bad idea to take away someone's livelihood, to take away someone's life because of a plant. It's ridiculous to me. And so the government, well, President Biden specifically, could immediately take action on that. He could just say, all these folks who are sitting in jail for that reason, for a plant, you go home. You start issuing the pardon, go home, spend Christmas with your families. Instead, he chooses to make jokes about it, decides to be affable. So that's part of what kills me about Biden, right? It's like he's so polite. He's such a nice politician. Like President Trump, regardless of how you feel about him, he'd be crude. You're right. He'd make people mad, and some people like that. But he wasn't going to play that game. And then people would get so obsessed with the way Donald Trump said things that they wouldn't focus on the substance of the issues that he was doing, for better or worse, whether he was doing something terrible or something good. It would always be about the way he talked about these things. President Biden is polite as heck. He's nice. He's affable. He's fun. I mean, I know some people don't think so, but like a lot of the people in the media like him. He acts the way they expect politicians to act. And like, there's something to that. And when politicians act in the way that the media expects them to, they seem to give them more of a pass when they're doing terrible stuff, from pursuing wars to not doing anything about immigration, which they made a big deal about under Trump, and now suddenly silence under Biden, to the war on drugs. In this case, not many people are talking about this issue. Not many people are talking about the fact that he made this significant campaign promise, which a lot of the people who did vote for him were hoping that he would push this issue, despite his long track record of being on the absolute wrong side of this issue, particularly in the 90s. And instead, because he is making a joke about it, because he's not saying anything crude, he's not swearing, he's not, making a misstatement or a lie in what he's saying, because he just is polished from being in office for decade after decade, people just let it go. And while they let it go, while they fail to call out what Joe Biden has done here or failed to do here, people continue to suffer. People continue to sit in jail when they don't need to, when they could be going home and seeing their families this holiday season. All right. Thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. If you have any thoughts on that, we've been spending the whole first half of the show talking mostly about criminal justice reform issues, the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff, the other cases. Would love to hear from you. Again, give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. Or leave your comments online. I'm streaming here today on the Free Solution Facebook page, Free Solution YouTube channel, or the Kevin Wilson page, wherever you're listening today. Appreciate it. And when we come back, what we'll talk about is we'll talk about some of the inflation going on too. Just wild statements about, like, the denial of what's happening here is just mind-boggling. Love to see it. Well, it's entertaining. I hate to see it. Thanks again for joining us on Free Solution. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Fly the flag, stand for freedom.
WYSL.
AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. We'll have increasing clouds. Will not be as cold. We'll stay well up into the 30s on Thanksgiving Day. Mostly cloudy. There could be a sprinkle or two, but generally dry through much of the day in the 40s to near 50s. Some rain will come in Thursday night. Plan on some lake effect snow showers. Much colder and a gusty breeze on Friday. Temps in the 20s and 30s. I'm Rich Cornelia, WYSL.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Do you, like many business owners, feel your business is your other child? You started it, worried when things weren't well, watched it grow, proud of its successes, and now the business is running well. So you start to think, how am I going to transfer this business and make sure I get the most value for it? Who am I going to sell it to? Family, key employees, favorite competitors? What's my business worth? What kind of payment terms am I going to get? What are the tax implications and business agreements I need? What's going to be the impact for me and my family? I'm Alan Ginsberg of the A.M. Ginsberg Advisory Group. We work with many business owners regarding business continuation plans. We'll be glad to sit down and discuss your situation and look at the options that you may have available. Call my office at 585-377-4720. If you started to think about it, don't wait till the last minute.
Securities offered through Securities America, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Securities America Advisors, Inc., A.M. Ginsberg Advisory Group, and Securities America Companies are separate entities.
The News 1040 weather phone. Call it now. 346-9140.
We're not meant to live life alone. At Brighton Presbyterian Church, we believe we need God and one another every day. Join a caring church family that values loving God, His Word, and serving others with humility. We worship together at 9:15 a.m. on Sundays at 1775 East Avenue in Rochester, across from Wegmans. Find out more at brightonpresby.org.
Geneseo Hardware and Rental has all your project needs. They have a large selection of hardware, plumbing, electrical, home goods, lawn and garden, plus much more. Geneseo Hardware offers Valspar paint, Cabot stains, a wide selection of rental items, plus screen and window repair. Get personalized service. Open 7 days a week. Geneseo Hardware and Rental, Route 20A next to Wegmans Plaza. Visit geneseo-rental.com.
It's one of the most essential things on earth, being cared for close to home. UR Medicine brings specialty care to the people of Geneseo and the surrounding area, so you don't have to travel to Rochester for a mammogram, heart care, or even outpatient surgery. To learn more about UR Medicine services in your community, go to geneseo.urmc.edu. UR Medicine, medicine of the highest order.
Countywide Glass repairs and replaces broken, cracked, or chipped auto glass. Countywide Glass repairs cloudy and foggy double or single pane windows at your home for a fraction of the cost of replacement. Countywide Glass accepts all insurances and can assist you with your claim. Call Countywide Glass at 438-4301. That's 438-4301. Visit their new location at routes 5 and 20 between Avon and Lima, or online at countywideglass.com. We know glass.
Tom Walls. Let me cook you the greatest cheeseburger you've ever had. The crispiest French fries. Let me serve you a frosted mug of Tom Walls root beer. Still made one small batch at a time. Tom Walls.
Tom Walls.
Last year, your Thanksgiving was probably not normal, but for too many men, women, and children in Rochester, Normal means not enough to eat and too little hope. You can change that for as little as $2.63. Go to opendoormission.com.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us here on A Free Solution. We're live on WYSL until 1 o'clock. That means that you, the listener, can call in and participate in the show, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. Or if you're listening online, one of our streaming platforms, A Free Solution on Facebook, A Free Solution on YouTube, or the Kevin Wilson page. Leave your comments. If it's a good one, we'll read it on air. We'll discuss it. And shout out down the line to our friends listening over at WACK out in Newark. Appreciate y'all as well. And our podcast listeners too. Thank you for being here. And we're going to switch topics a little bit. We're going to go over to start talking about inflation. It's coming up right now because people are thinking about the cost of their Thanksgiving meal. They are starting to hopefully, guys, you're not procrastinators. You have already bought your Thanksgiving meal. You're not waiting to go to the store tonight to get one. I know we're all prepared, and we by we I mean like mostly my wife, but somewhat me, to make as much of the meal as possible the night before, so we're ready to go tomorrow. I don't get a turkey, guys. I know it's so super unpopular opinion. I hate turkey so much. It's gross. Please direct your hate mail to contact@afreesolution.com. I'm not a fan of turkey. I'm doing beef for Thanksgiving. I won out this year. I got to pick the meat, so we're doing some roast beef. But anyway, people are thinking about the cost of that, and they're thinking, hey, they're looking at some of the prices at the stores. Things are getting more expensive. Meat's getting more expensive. Milk's getting more expensive. They're seeing the cost of goods go up. And if they're not more expensive, then sometimes you have this other issue of shrinkflation, where people are, or companies rather, are making packaging smaller and keeping the price the same. So maybe you don't notice, but it's an ounce or two lighter than what it was previously, whether it's again meat or box foods or whatever it is. And then so thinking about all this, I know one of the things that has gotten a bunch of attention on at least my social circles is this tweet from the St. Louis Fed. It says, a Thanksgiving dinner serving of poultry costs $1.42. A soybean-based dinner serving with the same amount of calories costs 66 cents and provides almost twice as much protein. Pass. Again, I totally support your right to not serve turkey on Thanksgiving dinner. I want beef. Turkey's foul. No, it's not for me. But soybean, I don't know. Do your thing if you want to. But it feels like they're starting to notice the rising cost, at least in the immediate term, of meat. And they're like, oh, but you can just have soybeans. That's not an acceptable alternative for many folks. Now, it is true that inflation's going up. Something like 6.5% overall. The causes behind it are pretty complex, right? It's probably government spending, supply chain issues. Some caused by COVID, some caused by government. If you believe Elizabeth Warren, it's greed, whatever. But I do want to inject like a teeny tiny bit of optimism into the Thanksgiving inflation discussion. Just because I came across this article, a blog that I really like called Human Progress, and I'll share the link to this one too, is this year, overall, Thanksgiving is 14% higher, right? And I'll read the opening thing. It says, today, the U.S. Farm Bureau, the days came out, released its much anticipated Thanksgiving dinner cost estimate for 2021. According to the Bureau, the average cost of this year's classic Thanksgiving feast for 10 people will be $53.31, or less than $6 per person. That is $6.41, or 14% increase from last year's average of $46.90. I can read that immediate headline and think like, wow, this is even worse than we expected, right? Not quite. It is not great. Again, I don't want to let politicians off the hook here. Inflation does seem to be happening, whether it's short term, long term, I don't know. But my small bit of optimism before I tear into the politicians is that over time, Thanksgiving has gotten a lot cheaper. And by overtime, I mean like in the last 30 years, 30, 40 years now. I'll cite this stat. It says since 1986, Thanksgiving has become 37% more affordable. It means based on rising wages, based on cheaper goods and services, based on the lowering cost of things due to the increased supply and addressing market demands is now 37% cheaper based on adjusted wages for you to buy Thanksgiving dinner for your family. And that's great news. Again, it would have cost you a lot more relative to your income to purchase Thanksgiving dinner back in the 80s. And going back further too, it's because we have a great free market system, an imperfect one to be sure, but because we live in an age of abundance, we live in an age where companies are both willing and able to meet the needs of consumers like us and competing with one another to make sure that they can get that space, that they can offer you a good quality meal for an affordable price. We're able to have a feast. Having a large dinner like Thanksgiving is not that big of a deal anymore. Imagine, 100 some odd years ago, even further back, going back to some of the earliest Thanksgivings, it was a huge deal. Required a massive amount of resources, a lot of time just to produce a big feast like Thanksgiving. It will required not just a few hours of your work, depending on what you're making nowadays, not just a few hours of work, but many days, many months of work to be able to produce a Thanksgiving feast for your family and your community. Instead, we're able to do that for a relatively low price. Again, $53 to feed 10 people. Not great that it's going up year over year. I don't want to dismiss the concerns of inflation. I wish Joe Biden was doing more to address those concerns. But one of the things that I'm thankful for this year is that we live in a day and age where it's relatively easy for most people, not dismissing the struggles of some individual families, but it's relatively easy for most people to be able to afford Thanksgiving dinner because of capitalism, because of free market economics, because of companies that want to make money. Again, they're looking to make a profit, selling us turkeys and stuffing and bread and potatoes and whatever. I bring this up every once in a while. It's from the same site. They have a great article. Would you trade places with Andrew Carnegie? Right? Do we have more wealth nowadays than he did 100 years ago? In some ways, yeah, because we're able to enjoy our Thanksgiving dinner not only at a relatively affordable price, but also do so in many cases warm, safe homes that are heated through the winter with access to technology and the ability to easily travel to the houses of friends and family. I have family in from out of town. It's a great thing that they live a few hours away and they could easily come out for a day trip. That's what I'm thankful for this year. As much as I want to complain about inflation, and I think that is worth complaining about, it is worth trying to bring that to attention of politicians. I do want to take a moment to express how blessed we are to live in the age that we live now. I want to have at least a moment of optimism today. So we're able to go again tomorrow. I'll be enjoying a Thanksgiving dinner, hanging out with my young son and my parents and some other relatives, and then hopefully watching the Buffalo Bills beat the New Orleans Saints. Hopefully. Oh my goodness, that Sunday game was so rough, guys. It was so rough. All right, I'll quit the sports talk. This ain't a sports show, but it was so bad. Still, go Bills. And yeah, so that's something out there. So again, if you're listening on the radio today, if you're listening on WYSL or WACK, I'll post a link to this interesting blog post about the cost of Thanksgiving and how it's actually gone down quite a bit. It's up this year. They say it's up 7%. Actually, they have an interesting analysis. Thanksgiving is up 7% this year over last year. That said, overall, if we continue our free market policies and we don't allow government to let us spiral into an inflationary mess, we are doing pretty well overall. So thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. You can check out that article. And if you have any thoughts on this, any thoughts on any of the previous topics that we talked about, give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. We'll be back in just a few minutes with more on A Free Solution.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Need help with health insurance? The Greece Regional Chamber provides assistance with health insurance for businesses, nonprofits, families, and individuals throughout our region. We pride ourselves on the personalized service that we provide for our clients. Let us help you find health insurance plans that fit your needs and navigate the paperwork. Greece Chamber Benefit Partners, located at 2402 Westridge Road in Rochester, New York, offers a broad range of medical insurance plans for businesses, nonprofits, individuals, and families throughout the greater Rochester Finger Lakes region, working with insurance companies including Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield, Univera, and MVP Healthcare. We can also help you access insurance plans through the New York State of Health, the official health plan marketplace. Again, you do not need to live or work in Greece to utilize our brokerage services. We serve the greater Rochester Finger Lakes region of New York State. Visit greecechamber.org to sign up for one of our free health insurance information sessions or schedule an appointment with one of our licensed brokers. Call 585-227-7272. 585-227-7272.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us here on WYSL. If you're listening live, we're live until 1 p.m. Give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. Or if you're listening online, Free Solution Facebook page, Free Solution YouTube channel, or the Kevin Wilson pages, wherever you're listening, leave your comments or whatever. Just leave your likes too. You could do that. I'm fine with that. I'll take your appreciation or not, or your angry reacts, whatever you want to do. All right, so we're talking about inflation again. I wanted to start with a positive note. Things are relatively good, relatively speaking, for most people. But the progress that we've made on that, the ability to be able to afford a Thanksgiving dinner in a place like the United States where we have a relatively free economy. Again, lots of stuff going wrong right now, lots of stuff that could get even worse, but we still relatively free economy and have had one over the last several decades. It's meant that we have more prosperity, more wealth, more abundance at this time of year. We're not struggling to survive. I kind of, I'm not the type of person to get all nostalgic and romantic about like the old days, the early days of our country. It is tough. No, I like living in comfort. It's a good thing. It's just a matter of being able to maintain that. But now we live in a day and age where government wants to, our politicians want to be seen fixing problems. But oftentimes, the more they try to fix problems, the worse things get. They just get their claws and everything, and cause a cascading effect of other issues here, and so now that brings us to some of our, you know, our current issues with inflation. One of the areas that's being impacted by inflation right now, of course, are gas prices. When I talked about this previously, I was like, all right, listen, this isn't just on the president, and I still stick with that. It's not just on the president that gas prices are going up, right? Like the president doesn't have like that much control in most cases. Um, it, a lot of this is determined by huge macroeconomic issues that are totally outside of our president's or even our government's control. Not totally, but a lot outside of their immediate control, because it has to do with the politics of these oil companies, politics of other oil producing countries, and uh and demand at the time, right? So like why did gas prices go way down last year in March, April, May 2020? Well, it's because no one was driving, everyone's staying home. No one was buying gas. Literally oil was negative. But now it's gone up quite a bit. They're gone up to $80 a barrel, which is not the highest it's been. But gas prices have gone up. The average price was 211 a year ago. Now it's 340 this week. And one of the things that the president's going to do is he's going to release 50 million barrels of oil from the nation's strategic petroleum reserve. Okay, cool, but what we really need are, if this is an issue caused by an oil supply constraint, then what you need to do is make sure you have policies where it's relatively easy to produce oil. And the United States can control that within its territories. And the Biden administration is facing a lot of pressure from the left in order to not do that, to move people away from carbon resources. And because of that, it is more difficult to do. It's more difficult to produce that oil. So instead of releasing the strategic oil reserves, which maybe has some small term effect, but perhaps not. The better thing to do, the long term policy vision for this, is to make sure that you're allowing drilling rights and making the regulations clear on oil issues. To me, because inflation isn't just caused by any one thing, right? Like, is it caused by government spending? Yeah, in some ways, but it's also caused by government regulations that drive up the compliance cost of different goods and services, whether that's oil production, whether it's shipping, whether it's other logistics to get things to it, whether it's taxes. All these things end up adding up to higher prices overall. Some of it's, again, constraints caused by outside circumstances, but a lot of it is government policy. And so here's the part where it gets weird, right? Like, there's the Biden administration is not just political, where they don't want to acknowledge inflation. They're kind of pretending it doesn't exist, right? So what they try to do, what politicians try to do, is that it's not just that they're covering the butts. Is that the moment a legitimate authority, at least this is the thinking, as I understand it goes, the moment a legitimate authority like the president or someone in the Fed starts talking about inflation in a serious way, sounding alarm bells, people start to panic, right? I'm talking about like everyone who's in politics, right, who's serious is talking about this stuff right now. But the politicians, they don't want to mention it, because it'll spook people. And they think that if they talk about it, if they legitimize that inflation is happening, and suddenly it's going to accelerate, right? So they think that we hear this and we're going to say, oh man, prices are going to go up. You think things are bad now, they're going to go up even more. We better buy whatever we're going to buy right now. But what happens if everyone has a run on, any particular good, lumber, toilet paper, snacks? Well, suddenly, and then not only is there a run on these things, but also some of us have gotten a bunch of government money, right? In the last year, we got those checks from the government. We have a little bit more disposable income. We're traveling less. We have more cash to be able to buy a more limited number of goods, which are constrained by supply issues and people thinking that, well, maybe this stuff is going to go away. So they buy it more. All right. It sounds like we have a call on the line, though. Charles, we only have a few more minutes left, but Charles, what's on your mind?
Okay, I got to make this quick then. The reason why gas prices were so cheap is because America was the number one oil producing in the world.
Oh, heck yeah.
Trump made that way, but you didn't mention that. And the whole reason why we have higher gas prices now is because we got rid of the whole independence on oil and went back to resorting to relying on other countries.
All right. So I'll fight with you a little bit on that, because one, it wasn't just Trump who did that. Like, this is kind of like a long thing coming, right? Like, it's Trump wasn't able to make America the number one producer of oil in 4 years. They actually started in the Obama administration, but its policies that caused that were caused, way back before too. So it's not just Trump. It's just that he continued those policies, which is the right direction to go. Biden hasn't totally undone yet. We still produce a lot of oil, but he hasn't helped that along. And that's the direction I see. Again, the president can do a little bit, but he's not the only one who does it. So like, prices going up or down are not just Trump and Biden, but it's how their policies impact us years later. That makes sense?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's more in depth to it. Obviously, we don't have time to talk about it.
Yeah, right.
But can I just say one thing?
Sure.
Hashtag where's my free gas? If he's throwing in 50 million barrels of oil that we've already paid for with our tax dollars.
Fair enough, right? Where's our free gas? Yeah, you got to start tweeting that at him. Maybe we'll get it. He's got his Build Back Better bill. We're already spending what, $1.5 trillion, whatever. But what's a few more? It's a few more billion on there for some free gas. We've already paid for it.
I mean,
Doesn't even matter.
It's all printed up anyways.
Yeah. All right. So we only got a minute left. Charles, thank you so much for calling in. Have a happy Thanksgiving. That's a good point that you made, and I'm glad that you brought that for discussion. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
And yep, absolutely. Take care. And same to the rest of you too. Again, appreciate y'all being here. Appreciate y'all listening. Again, one of the things I'm thankful for this year is the privilege of being able to do this show, and it wouldn't be possible without the folks listening today, engaging with the audience, engaging with this show, bringing us ideas. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. All right. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care.
While many local